Welcome everyone to the Society of Thoracic Surgeons, the General Thoracic Surgery Database user group call. Today is Wednesday, April the 27th. I can't believe we are almost into May. On the call with me today, let's see, from STS, we've got myself and Carol Crone and Ruth, our GTSD consultant. And from the IQVIA side, we've got Jean, Joe, and Melanie. So small group here today. I don't have a lot of information to share today. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those into the Q&A. Use the Q&A function. You can feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to talk or if you need to clarify your question. So again, just please put those questions into the Q&A for us. I'm sorry, agenda real quick. Again, just a super brief STS update. Ruth has a few education slides, a couple of topics she's going to touch on. And I have a super brief IQVIA update. And then as always, we'll finish with your user feedback with your questions. So if you have a ticket submitted that you'd like an update on, please be sure to go ahead and include that ticket number into the Q&A, and Jean and her team can look into that while we are finishing up the slides. STS updates, again, not a lot of new information, but training manual for April will be posted, or actually is posted. Sorry about that. So the April training manual is posted. The May training manual will be coming next week. We'll try to have that posted within the first week of May. Also, a little bit of information that we wanted to share with you all regarding the data collection resources. The DCFs, the training manual, data specifications, all of our data collection resources will soon be password protected on the STS website. So participants, once you go to download a data collection form or to access the training manual, you will be required to log into the STS website to access that information. For those of you that have attended AQO, those would be you would use your user credentials to access the STS website. And if you don't have a password, I think you'll be prompted. I know we're still working out the logistics, so more information about that to come about if you don't have a password, if you can generate your user credentials. Carol, do you have any additional information on how that'll work? I know, we're still talking with IT and how all that's gonna roll out.
No, Leanne, I think you covered it well.
Okay.
Just that the resource information for the databases will begin being password protected in the near future. The same, if you want to go to the sts.org site, I can show you where you would log in at. It's not, the information is not yet password protected, but the login is right on the STS homepage, sts.org, up in the right-hand corner there. If you click that, Leanne, you get to click that, it'll go to the link there. And this is where you would log into the portal. But again, more information will come with, if you don't have your account or you forgot your password, you can click that and get started button. And our team will help you with that. But we'll send out more information, and a formal notification will come out from STS in the very near future. But just wanted to give everybody a heads up that the information is going to be behind password protection going forward. Not yet, in the near future.
Just coming soon. Coming soon. GTSD public reporting. I had updated you guys on the last call. Again, the next update is scheduled for this spring. That will be coming very soon. I know Sydney and her team are working on that. It will utilize the results from fall 2021 harvest. That includes procedures up through June 30th of 2021. If you have any questions related to public reporting, please reach out to Sydney Clinton, and she can be reached here at this email, sclinton@sts.org. IQVIA platform access, again, as we touched on the last call, if you need to add new user accounts or deactivate new users, please complete the STS participant contact form that is found out on the STS website. You can access it via this link here. If you have any questions about completing that form, please reach out to us at stsdb@sts.org for assistance. Quick update regarding AQO 2022. As you guys know, that meeting is coming very, very soon. It is coming, I think I have the wrong date. So I'm sorry, before I say the wrong information, I have the dates. Carol, do you have the dates off the top of your head? I have October 24th through 26th, but I don't think that's right. Hold on, let me go to events. Sorry, everyone. I don't want to tell you the wrong dates. I should know this off the top of my head. I do have the wrong dates. It's October 26th through October the 28th. Again, AQO 2022 is October 26th through the 28th in Providence, Rhode Island. AQ abstract submission will be opening soon. It's targeted for May, early June. So we're asking data managers and STS database participants are encouraged to begin thinking about quality improvement projects or scientific abstracts to submit for poster presentation. We will be contacting all data managers via email once the abstract submission opens. And we will also provide a link to the abstract submission site on the STS AQO page. And again, more information to come regarding AQO registration. Again, will be coming very soon. So please, I really do hope we have some general thoracic abstracts this year. I don't think we had any last year for a presentation. So again, please start thinking about that. We would love to have some general thoracic abstracts this year for AQO 2022. Continued STS updates, just as you all are aware, the spring 22 data is in analysis and reports are planning to be released this summer. I don't have an exact date yet, but we are working with our research center on that report release. And as soon as we have more definitive dates, we'll share that with you. But again, we are looking for results for spring 2022 to be available this summer. The fall 22 harvest is underway. The harvest close date is September the 9th, opt out by September 13th, and that will include procedures up through June 30th of 2022. Again, and we're looking at report availability to be ready in winter of 2022. That's all I have for now. I'm going to turn things over to Ruth. I know she's got a few slides. So Ruth, it's all you.
Awesome. Thank you, Leanne. So this first one is a request from a fellow data manager. They are looking for a website that reliably converts ICD-10 codes to CPT codes. If you have a tool that you use for that, if you could put it into the chat, and I'm happy to pass it along to that data manager if they are not on this call. I don't personally use any resources like that, and I hate to recommend something that I have Googled without really testing over a long period of time. So anything you might have for them would be appreciated. So then we're going to do a couple of polling questions. This one is about sequence 1250, primary category of disease. The question is, the training manual states, choose the primary diagnosis or reason for the procedure. For cases where a pathology report is available, use the final diagnosis on the pathology report. This patient had an esophageal cancer of the lower third of the esophagus with a complete response to pre-op chemo RT. And the final pathology report after esophagectomy showed no cancer, a YPT0, YPN0. Oops, that should be a 0. What is my primary category of disease? So the choices are listed there.
And the poll is launched.
Oh, thank you, Carol. Mm-hmm. I was looking at the wrong poll.
And folks are still voting, so we can just give it a few more seconds here.
Thanks for letting me know, Carol. I can't see it, so I appreciate
Yeah, I
that.
don't know. Let me see. I might have to, I think there's a setting that needs to be changed on it.
It's all right, as long as you let me know.
But I think we're good. We're 50 out of 75 folks voted. I'm gonna close it in 5 seconds. 2, 1, okay. And can you see the results, Ruth?
Yes, perfect. Okay. So the majority of you were correct. It's esophageal cancer, lower third. So when patients have a complete response to treatment, you would still capture the case as being a cancer case. The esophagectomy is part of the course of that cancer care. It would be similar for lung cancer. I think this happens a lot more often with esophageal cancers though. Let's see. Can't, oh, there it goes. Okay, the next polling question, sequence 1470, procedure. A site enters all cases performed, so not just the required cases, but all cases, and they want to capture a therapeutic VATS lobectomy performed for a solitary metastatic lesion. They selected lung tumor metastatic as the primary category of disease. Lobectomy is listed under lung cancer resection. Can it be used to enter this case?
And the poll is launched. Can you see it now?
I can see the poll. Yes, I can see. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm. People are still voting, and it's
the poll is, the question's not the one that's on the screen. I don't, or at least it's not on my screen.
What did I do?
Wait a minute. The question is just different on the poll than the question on the screen, but it's all right. If you answer the questions according to the question on the screen and not on the poll, then you're fine. Sorry, everyone.
Oh, sorry about that. Just answer the question on the screen.
The choices match up to what.
Do we need to redo this? Do we need to redo this one?
It's all right. I mean, I can share the information. It's fine. You can just submit. We'll see what happens.
Maybe that's why it's up. It's like almost, you know. All right. Everybody loves polling questions, so that's good. All right, hold on. Let's see. Even when they're the wrong one. What did I do? Can you see the results? Ignore the question.
I can see the results, even though it's the wrong question. So the majority of you were correct. Yes, you can use lobectomy, even though it's listed under the lung cancer resection header in this instance. It's really important that you select the correct primary category of disease, because it's not a lung cancer case, but the only place that lobectomy exists on the procedure form is under the lung cancer header. So you can use it. I recognize that this is very confusing, and we will hopefully do better with that communication for the next version.
Okay, let's see if I screwed up the next one.
Sequence 3660, post-op events. My patient went to the OR for a VATS lobectomy and was readmitted 5 days after discharge. They returned to the OR for a repair of herniated lung. If I choose to enter the second OR case on its own data collection form, can I say no to 3660, which is post-operative events, for the index procedure? Yes, as long as you still capture the readmission. No, you don't have to, and I'm not sure. Oh, it still says, I wish I was out for a drink right now.
Nobody told me to remove that.
I'm sorry.
I'm like, oh, Ruth is having a fun day today.
Yeah, I'm having a fun day today. I love making these questions. I think that this, yeah.
I think maybe Ruth was like accidentally had Siri on and it was like picked it up. And she's like, oh, I wish I was out for a drink. Just added it to the polling question.
Right.
So if I choose to enter the second OR case on its own DCF, can I say no to 3660? So are we saying, do we not code, are you saying, do you code the post-operative event for the second, for the herniated lung from a second admission?
So the question is, can you capture, so I think really what it boils down to is, can you capture every, well, would entering the second data collection form automatically code for you the return to the OR, essentially, or do you still have to code yes to 3660 to capture the return to the OR?
Okay. I'm going to end it here. It looks like most people voted. 5 seconds.
Oh, sorry. We're off. Our timing's off today, Carol.
It's okay.
So the majority, again, were correct. Although I'm right there with the 6% of you that were out, wish to be out for a drink right now. So no, you have to capture at least the return to the OR in 3670. In order to get 3670 to open, you have to code yes to 3660. Entering the second case into the database on its own data collection form doesn't automatically capture the return to the OR for you.
From the first case, you mean, right?
Yeah, for the first case. You can choose, if there were no other post-op events after the index procedure and they all followed the second procedure and you choose to enter the second procedure, you can keep the rest of your post-op events linked to that second case, but you have to at least enter the return to the OR on the index procedure. And the readmission.
So patient came in, first visit, first procedure was a vacillobectomy. Mm-hmm. They get discharged home. Mm-hmm. They get readmitted, go to the OR on their readmission for repair of the herniated lung. The herniated lung gets coded as a return to the OR on the first procedure, on the vacillobectomy procedure. And then you enter another DCF for the second admission. And anything that occurs after that goes on to the second DCF. So if any type of post-operative event occurs after the herniated lung repair is performed, it would go on to the second DCF?
Yes, that is one way you can do it. The other way you can do it is because that second case does not technically have to be entered because it's not a lung resection for lung cancer, you could choose not to enter that case as its own data collection form, and you could just put all of your post-op events on that index procedure.
Okay, got it.
But at bare minimum, you have to include that return to the OR on the index case.
Thank you. Okay.
Sequence 1600, I've got a few questions about this one. Clinical staging done for lung cancer. Are there specific types of clinical staging that must be completed in order to code yes to sequence 1600, clinical staging done for lung cancer? A, no. B, yes. C, I've been wondering about this for a long time.
It looks like this one and the last one you might have to do some more education on.
I've had lots and lots of questions about this one.
Yeah. Are there specific types of clinical?
If you want to pull up the training manual on this one, Leanne.
Sure. The question's still open.
Okay, I'm going to stop the poll. And there you go.
So the correct answer is no. Clinical staging is based on evidence and testing gathered prior to therapeutic surgery for primary treatment. This includes all types of testing, which I took straight from the training manual. So if you look here under clinical staging, it really just says in the intent clarification, it's based on anything that's gathered prior to the case. It could be preoperative biopsies, bronchial washings, any sort of radiology testing. It's really anything that's performed to determine the type and extent of the cancer and used to guide a treatment decision. 1620 has very specific clinical staging methods that we're attempting to collect. And so the 1620 is designed to find out, yes or no, we did these specific things. 1600 is just, did you do anything? It's the parent. I
don't know what my computer's doing, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Can you pull up maybe this is good. Maybe we could also look at the DCF to show the parent-child relationship. So for 1600, which was clinical staging performed, if they did something other than what is collected in 1620, they would still code yes.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then 1620 is just asking, were any of these specific types of staging performed?
Correct.
Okay.
The only instance that I can think of where you would say no to clinical staging done is if there's like a case where they didn't really, anticipate it being like a lung cancer and they were in there for some other reason and they wedged something out and it's like, lo and behold, look, you have lung cancer. In that instance, you would code no to clinical staging done. But for the overwhelming majority of resections that are done for cancer, some type of clinical staging has been completed. And even if it's like one example I think they got sent to me was like a patient who only had bronchial washings and a CT guided biopsy, right? And so it would be, yes, like those things count as clinical staging. They were in there looking for, they were sticking their needle in something that they thought might be lung cancer. The pathology came back positive actually from the CT guided biopsy. So when the patient went to the OR, they knew that they had lung cancer. Just because CT guided biopsy isn't a choice in 1620 doesn't mean you say no to 1600.
Okay, there's a question on this one too that I think instead of waiting to the end, I think it would be helpful. It just says, if a patient has a CT guided needle biopsy, is this coded as an IR needle biopsy? So maybe you just want to go over what you just said again. Ruth?
Oh, did we lose her?
I muted myself, sorry. For 1630, we're specifically looking for invasive mediastinal staging. So that's speaking specifically about CT guided or IR needle biopsy of the mediastinal lymph nodes. And so if they did a CT guided biopsy of your tumor or your nodule, you would not select that in 1630 because it wasn't mediastinal staging.
Yeah, and then how can biopsy be, somebody has their hand, same person has their hand up. I don't know if they want to talk. How can biopsy be staging? Oh, put his hand down.
It's part of the staging workup. I guess I can find some resources and send them out. It's generally imaging, biopsy, extent of disease. Do they have cancer at all?
Okay. Next question.
There's a question in the chat that's actually very similar to this one.
Oh.
So sequence 1560, hiatal hernia, diaphragmatic hernia, or GERD is the name of the sequence. My patient had a diaphragmatic hernia that was repaired. How do I code 1560 hiatal hernia data? Code yes, because data for all hiatal hernias, diaphragmatic hernias, and procedures for GERD are collected. Coding yes will open section J. Code no, only data for hiatal hernias, i.e. paraesophageal hernias, is intended to be captured in section J, and this is the parent question that opens that section. C, I'm not sure, but this question is giving me reflux. So this was one of the things in the training manual that we added some clarification around, but I feel like it's still a little bit confusing in the training manual, mostly because we wanted to provide some additional education around all types of hernia repair without necessarily collecting data on all of them. But the correct answer is code no. Only data for hiatal hernias, i.e. paraesophageal hernias, is intended to be captured. So if you have a patient with a traumatic diaphragmatic hernia, you would not capture that case. Hiatal hernias are adjacent to the esophagus specifically, and that's the intent of what this sequence was trying to capture. And it opens up all of the other hernia information in section J. You're welcome to include all hernia repairs if your surgeons would like you to, but you don't want to answer those questions in section J.
All right. And that's all that we have. Do you want to go ahead and tackle the question from Nancy? Will yes on 1600 and no on 1620 produce an IQVIA error or warning?
It'll show up on the missing variable report, I think. Can you pull up the DCF again,
yes,
please?
That's what I'm doing. Yes, ma'am. Essential F and 1600, yeah. So, well, yes on 1600 and no selection for, yeah, you should get a, that should be on the missing variable report. Or
Yeah, I think it shows up on the missing variable report, but it's not an error or warning.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable because for the overwhelming majority of cases, you would pick one of the things that are in 1620.
Yeah, and maybe next for the next upgrade, we can note that we need to add, what happened is we don't have an option for none here because it's a multi-select field. So if a site accidentally coded, PET CT and none, it could be accepted into the data warehouse as having data in it. So what's missing here is a parent that says, well, we have the clinical staging done question, yes or no, which was intended to be the parent for those fields, but we're allowing other types of staging to be collected in 1600 for if you wanted to code yes, other types of staging besides those in 1620 are allowed in. So I think we have to work on the parent-child relationships in the upgrade to try to get something to make it so it's not missing if you do code yes to 1600 and leave 1620 blank.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get into multi-select fields, it gets a little tricky with options of having you can't really have a none in there for the multi-select fields. And the way we usually handle that is by having that parent yes or no. But because yes and no, yes is collecting other information besides those options that are in the child field, which is 1620, that's where that confusion comes in. I know I just said it 3 times differently, but hopefully that made sense.
Carol.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
Beth, I think we answered your question with that
yes.
slide. So I'm gonna mark that one off. And then Maggie just sent in a question about sequence 1875. I don't know if you want to pull up the training manual.
Oh,
or
sure.
do you go through Joe's presentation first?
Well, actually, I really don't have any IQVIA updates other than the fact that if you've submitted a ticket, they're currently working on it. It's under review. If you have not had any follow-up, just reach out to tech support. But again, if you've submitted a ticket, it's currently under review. And again, please feel free to reach out if you have not heard back. So just let us know. And again, analysis report questions. Any questions regarding your report, please reach out to tech support. And then STS and IQVIA, STS DCRI Research Center will be looped in as needed. My contact information, database operational questions, again, stsdb@sts.org. And upcoming GTSD webinars, our next user group call is May 25th. And our next monthly webinar is May 11th. And just our marketing team will send out reminders along with calendar invites for those. That's all that I have. Again, sorry I ran through that super quickly. I apologize. But we've got some questions. Okay, let's go ahead and tackle these, Ruth. Nancy, is STS website password access distinct from IQVIA access? Does one contact update satisfy getting both? So Nancy, they're completely different. So let me pull up, as Carol stated, we'll have more information coming out about this. Again, this is just letting you know that this password, the STS website, data collection resources will begin to be password protected in the near future. Again, we're working through all the details. We'll share more information with you about that as soon as we have more information. But anyone that goes in to access the data collection resources, including STS staff, IQVIA staff, everyone will have to have a username and password. Again, we'll share more information, but it's two totally different websites. So you'll have different credentials for IQVIA as well as STS website. All right, and back to Maggie's question, Ruth. So you wanted the training manual?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I closed it out. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. 275. Okay.
So Maggie's question was, if a tumor invades the bronchus and hilar soft tissue, would this not be captured here, as those sites are not listed as sites to be captured for invasion of adjacent structure? Correct. You would choose none. And I did already take this back to the core group, and we had some discussion about this, and they said that these structures were very intentionally selected and they didn't want to capture the other invasion sites, which is why there isn't a choice for like other or, you know, in the previous version, there were more choices than exist here, and the options on this list were intentionally selected by the surgeons for the data that they're wanting to collect.
All right. Let's see. Quick question about the Harvest Composite Quality Rating Summary. I have a physician asking how having 0 observed mortalities for esophagectomies doesn't translate to 3 stars. I pointed him to the National Analysis Overview, but I don't have a strong enough understanding of the process to explain why an observed value of 0 doesn't mean a risk-adjusted value of 0%. Does anyone have a short or sweet explanation? Carol, do you have a short and sweet explanation for that one?
Yeah, hi, Leanne. I think so. It's a good question, Kaylee.
It is a good question, yeah.
I think the best way to explain it is that your star ratings are not just calculated by the performance at your hospital. It looks at the performance and case mix at all hospitals in the analysis cohort. And then depending on the risk profile of the patients performed at your hospital against the risk profile of patients performed at other hospitals, those who are performing higher risk cases will have, with better or the same outcomes as a site that has lower risk cases, they could have the same outcomes, but because that site is performing on higher risk cases, the risk adjusted outcome for that site are better than the site who performs average risk or lower risk cases. So it looks not just at what, so just to recap, it looks at not just what your site is doing, but it looks at all of the sites in the cohort in the analysis to determine how the star ratings are, calculated. Anyone else have anything to add?
That was great. You said that a lot more clearly than I could have.
I don't know, Leanne. Did that help, Kaylee? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Ruth, do you want to answer this question from Mindy regarding the 30-day follow-up?
Sure. So I was listening to the 413 webinar and a log of 30-day verification was mentioned again. I asked this question before and wanted to make sure it was still the same. If I get my 30-day info from the medical record, I do not need a log with a date and where I got the info, correct? Yes, it is my understanding that you are correct. The log is specifically for sites that are contacting patients or utilizing a different resource to get 30-day follow-ups. I think that came up in the context of, is it appropriate to use Care Everywhere and see that your patient hasn't been readmitted at any of the Care Everywhere sites? Is that sufficient? That was determined not to be sufficient. If you don't have any documentation, either in your EMR or in Care Everywhere, you need to, reach out to the patient, or somebody needs to have contacted the patient, found a source of data that actually confirms they were not readmitted and did not have any post-op events within 30 days. And if you're doing that reach out, then you need to log it because it's nowhere in your chart.
Yeah, I would just add on that for auditing purposes, I remember the audit company only has access to what you send them. So if you don't, it's easier to keep, if it's easier to keep a log for you to make sure that you have all your patients in one place and all your follow-up is documented in one place, both for the 30-day mortality status and the 30-day readmission status. And if you were to get audited, to just be able to submit that document with your audited EHR documentation versus they don't have access to Care Everywhere. So you would need to remember to pull that information for patients where you obtained the where you obtained their 30-day status, that were not part of their original EHRs at your facility. So just be aware of that, Mindy. I strongly suggest keeping a log so you have all your patients in one place, and then it's easy to track too if you need to go back and do follow-up on a patient. For some reason you couldn't find their 30-day status and you need to do that. A log is pretty easy to sort and filter on if you do an Excel spreadsheet. So just keep that in mind, even though it's documented in your EHRs. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be complete for all your patients, or it's going to be sent to the audit company if you're not the one sending it from your facility. If you have a third-party person, third-party company sending your information, or your medical records team is sending it, just be aware of that. And sometimes a log might be better for you.
Carol, here's a follow-up question to that. What exactly do the follow-ups need to include in the notes, in the medical records? No readmit, no complications, or just not documentation of complications?
I think no. You need to address your 30-day. So the 30-day mortality follow-up. So if and the method that you use to obtain that information. If it was a phone call to the patient, you need to document that on the log, or if it was you found it in the medical records, where it was found in the medical records and what the status of the patient was. I think that we have information. Let me just double check before I say it. I know it's in the adult cardiac one, but I think we added it into general thoracic for version 5.2.1 at the beginning of the training manual. Hold on one second. And Leanne, I might have you pull it up.
Oh, no, it's fine. I've got it open. Let me look. I don't know.
I'm not sure if it got in here or not.
I think it's there. We looked at this, I think on that.
Oh, did we?
Yeah,
okay.
But good to share it again. But yeah, I think it's in there. There you go, right there. Oh, wait, do you?
Did I go past it? No.
Maybe. Oh.
I think it's going to be in the training manual.
Yeah. 30-day. Here we go.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah. Whoa, it got moved down there. I think it should be.
Yeah, I'll move it up.
No, I think you're good. I think it just gets a little, it looks like that's that one where it's blurry, where it says 240. It looks like that's the start of the training manual, but actually that's just a screenshot of something. Yeah. So yes, so the 30-day mortality and 30-day readmission. And then there's a suggestion of what it should say. Patient's name, surgery date, discharge date, how you verified the patient's status, and just a quick note about if the patient was alive with no infection or readmit. And the readmit's 30 days from discharge.
So Kelly said, so the surgeon doesn't have to say no complications or readmissions.
No, the surgeons don't always see that. In general thoracic, it might be more common, but surgeons may not see that patient 30 days post-operative. Sometimes it might be a 2-week follow-up, and then they go back to their oncologist and follow up with the surgeon as needed. So it's not always possible for the surgeon to see that patient on day 30 or shortly thereafter. So I would just doesn't have to be documented by the surgeon specifically, but you can call the surgeon's office, you can call the patient, you can look in medical records for if they're in some type of rehabilitation, physical therapy or something like that. You can find it there and use that as part of your documentation. Just make sure that you provide where that information was obtained from. So if needed, it can be verified if you're audited.
Kelly says perfect, Carol. Our next question from Christy, will the AQ will be virtual and in person or just in person? So we will have a hybrid meeting this year. It will both be virtual and in person. So we would love to have you join us in person if you are able. Would love to see everyone's faces. It's been a very long time. So we will have both. Let's see here. Will they be releasing risk-adjusted numbers for the pulmonary resection composite, or are they only doing star ratings? At this time, we only have the star rating. We just have the composite. To be honest, I don't know of the time of the plan to provide risk-adjusted results. Carol, do you know off the top of your head if they've talked about providing risk-adjusted outcomes?
I'm surprised to hear that they're not on there with the star ratings. Hold on one second.
Yeah. Let's see here. I don't have.
I'm just going to the
yeah,
risk adjusted report real quick to check.
Yep, we've got.
That's how they calculate your risk adjusted results, or what is used to determine your star ratings based off of the whole cohort that's analyzed. So hold on.
Yep. Let's see. A couple of other things real quick. Audited sites have not yet been notified, Nancy. That will be coming, I think, next month. So within the next few coming weeks, sites will be notified that they have been selected for audit. So that will be coming very, very soon. And Katie had put a comment in the chat regarding our question. Oh, I lost my slides. Hold, please. Let's see here. So Katie had put a comment in the chat regarding referencing CPT to ICD, cross-referencing. She says craneware. So again, I'm going to put that in for everyone in case you could not see that. So that is from Katie Lothrop. So thank you, Katie, for sharing that.
I don't see any, the risk adjusted outcomes like we do for.
No, not like they do for lobectomy. Audit letter still not updated.
No, I think Emily's working on it. She's getting, waiting for the surgeons to sign off.
Yeah, the audit website is not yet updated. So if you're referencing what's out there on the website at this time. So audits, right, the general thoracic audit instruction letter that's currently posted on the website is not yet updated. Again, Emily will be updating that information as soon as she can. What else? All right. Is notification of audit by email or letter USPS? It's by email, Nancy. So you would receive an email from Emily if you're audited, if you're one of the sites selected. Let's see, for 30-day follow-ups, if a site is audited, would the auditing company be calling patients to confirm? Would we need to tell the patient that they may be getting a phone call from an outside auditing company? No. So the auditing company would not call the patients to confirm. They will just check your log, but they will not be calling your patients. All right. And let me, I just want to show you one, if you guys are checking the STS website for audit, I just wanted to point you to the resource, to the audit page for anyone that was not on the call last week. So once Emily does get the website updated, if you would like to check the audit, if you just scroll down from the STS National Database homepage, if you scroll down under important resources and you click on the audit button, here's where Emily will have all of the audit information updated and posted. So here's the general thoracic, and again, so here's the general thoracic instruction letter. This is where all the information will be. So once you've been notified that you're getting audited, this will be your resource page. Emily will have all of that information updated. I'm pretty sure, by the time you get notified of audit. So just wanted to point you to that resource. And Ruth, did you want to take this question from Whitney?
Sure, if you want to go back to
So
that.
I'll go back to the question. Okay.
Okay, so I think the heart of this question is, if your patient gets readmitted and you enter the second data collection form, does the STS automatically assign the readmission to the index procedure if you code no to 3660? And the answer to that, as far as I'm aware, is no. Carol or Liam, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you have to capture 3660, yes, and then enter the return to the OR on that index procedure. If there are other post-op events that, if you choose to enter the second procedure that's not required for entry, but if you want to enter that second surgery on its own data collection form, and there are other post-op events that are subsequent to that second procedure, you can enter them on that second data collection form. If you choose not to enter the second data collection form, then you need to capture all of the post-op events on the only data collection form that you have chosen to submit. Does that make it more clear?
Yeah. Whitney, if you wanted to, you can raise your, if you wanted to unmute, I could unmute you if you just wanted to talk it through, if you had other questions, if that might be easier. If you were needed to clear up any additional confusion. Happy to do that. All right. Okie dokie. All right, I'm not seeing any additional questions. I know Carol had to step away. You're welcome, Whitney. Ruth is awesome. All right, I'm not seeing any additional questions. I know we're about 4:22, so we're almost done with the hour. All right, again, just real quick, mark your calendars. Our next webinar is the user group call is May 25th at 2:30 Central. And our next monthly webinar is May 11th at 1:30 Central. So yeah, mark your calendars. Thank you everyone for joining today. Still don't see any additional questions, so I guess we'll end a few minutes early, give you 8 minutes back of your day. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Ruth, for our education today. We greatly appreciate it. And so with that, I hope you all have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.